So the tree frog house provides a place in your yard that a number of species of tree frogs will hide. They'll go into the pipe to avoid the wind, because tree frogs, they desiccate and if it's too windy. So they hide in there to keep from drying out. Also, it protects them from predators like some species of snakes and birds. And then they leave the pipe at night, the tree frog house at night, to go feed on insects, and they come back in there to hide in the daytime. So these things are really easy to make and install. You just need a couple items. So you need basically a 3-foot piece of PVC pipe that you're ultimately going to stick in the ground, but you'll go to your local hardware store or home improvement warehouse place. Usually the pipes are sold in 10-foot sections, so depending on the number of pipes you want to make, you get one or multiple sections. You're going to ultimately cut the 10-foot section into 3 pieces. It's important to get the thin-walled PVC pipe that is 1 1/4 inch in diameter. Don't get the thick-walled so-called scheduled 40. It's difficult to cut, it's heavy, and the other pipe, thinner pipe, works better. So you get that 10-foot section of pipe, and then you can use a tape measure to divide it into 3 equal sections of about 40 inches at length, or you can just eyeball it and estimate it. You start out by holding the pipe firmly, secure it. Maybe you want to have a second person there with you, or if you're a youth, you want to have parents that help you out, or somebody else that can give you a hand. You want to be safe when you do this. Maybe wear gloves when you cut the pipe. And the first piece, you go to your first mark and you cut a 45-degree angle. So you cut it across like that, and then voila, that piece that's left is your first tree frog house. Then you go back to the remaining piece and cut it in half with a straight cut straight across the pipe, and you have 2 more pieces. One of those is going to be flat and on one end, and it's going to be angled on the other. That third one will be flat on both ends. You can install it with the flat end into the ground, or you can then cut that piece at an angle. And basically, you just stick them in the ground a couple inches. You can hammer them in with a rubber mallet, or just sort of use your weight and twist the pipes into the ground. It's important you install it a couple inches, pull it out, and knock the dirt plug out of the bottom of the pipe, reinstall it, because ultimately when you check the pipe, if you want to pull it out and look for the frogs in there or remove a frog, you don't want it to have a dirt plug. And that's basically it. This is kind of like the you build it, they will come. You install it in places where you think frogs will show up and leave it for a couple weeks. If frogs don't show up at that location, then try and move in your pipe elsewhere. So if you have tree frogs of certain species, though, they will come to use these pipes. So after your pipes have been in place in the ground for a week or 2, you're going to want to go check them. And it's as simple as walking up to the pipe and looking down in and see if there's a frog in there. Often the frogs will be up near the top. Sometimes they'll scurry down if they see you startled by your smiling face looking at them. You can feel free to observe the frogs. If you want to actually remove them from the pipe and determine what species you have and take a closer look, you're going to need a clear zippered bag, and you're going to want to make a tree frog plunger to easily and safely remove the frogs from the PVC pipe. To do that, you just need an old dowel, or maybe an old broomstick, an old rake handle that you can cut off that's long enough that it's more longer than the PVC pipe. And then on one end of that, you want to install a piece of sponge, or maybe some old strips of rag that you wrap around them that you should secure in place with duct tape. And you want to use enough duct tape that the fat end of that plunger fits nice and securely inside the PVC pipe. You don't want it too big that you can't fit it in there, and you don't want to leave any gaps in there either that would possibly allow you to miss the frog or possibly injure it when you're plunging it out. So once you see the frog in there, you've got your plunger on one end, you've got your zipper bag in another, you see the frogs in there, you set the bag over top of the PVC pipe, leaving enough of a gap that the frogs can jump out, because you might get more than one frog. They can come out of the pipe and get into the bag. Lift it up. Be sure you check into it, make sure you don't have a dirt plug in the bottom. If you do, clear that out by tapping it with your foot or use a stick or something, and then take that fat end of the tree frog plunger, insert it, and slowly push it all the way up to the top of the pipe, and any tree frogs that are in there are going to get scared into your bag. You remove the bag holding them in place, and then you can examine them through the clear walls of the bag and use your tree frog identification skills to determine which species you happen to catch. And there you go. You've got your tree frog house, and you're checking out your frogs and having a good time. For more information on building a tree frog house and other frog-related topics, visit Ask IFAS.